How much is enough to never work again? Here's how. What if everything the financial industry told you about retirement is a lie? What if you don't need $2 million to retire? What if you only need $300,000 and the courage to think differently? Financial advisors tell you that you need $2 to $5 million to retire safely. They're not wrong about the math. They're wrong about the assumptions. They're calculating based on maintaining your current expensive American lifestyle, not on achieving actual freedom. They want you working until 65, stressed until 70, dependent on their advice forever, because that's how they make money. Management fees, commissions. The longer you work, the more they profit. They're not selling advice, they're selling fear. Here's what's hilarious. Financial advisors telling you to save $2 million before retiring is like a car salesman saying you need a Ferrari to drive to work. Technically it works, but a Honda gets you there while keeping all your money. Except the salesman makes commission on the Ferrari, not the Honda. If you've been told you'll never retire unless you're rich, hit subscribe and type freedom below. Because what comes first exposes the biggest lie in personal finance. Principle 1. Redefine what retirement actually means. Everyone's chasing a retirement number they don't understand. Working toward a goal defined by people who profit from them, working longer. You're climbing toward retirement without even knowing what you're actually trying to achieve. Just a vague idea of not working at some distant age when you're too old to enjoy it. Here's the question that traps you. How much money do you need to maintain your current lifestyle forever? That question guarantees 40 years of work. That question makes retirement seem impossible unless you're wealthy. Ask a different question instead. How much money do you need to no longer be forced to work for money? Completely different question, completely different answer. This question leads to freedom. The other question leads to a lifetime of servitude. Retirement isn't stopping work. It's stopping having to work for money. It's when work becomes optional, not when work becomes impossible. Having the choice to work on what you want, when you want, if you want. That's freedom. Not sitting on a beach bored at 70 waiting to die. Here's the mindset shift. Most people think I need to replace my income in retirement. Wrong. You don't need income. You need to cover expenses. If you can live well on $18,000 yearly, you don't need a six-figure income replacement. You need a system that generates $18,000 yearly. Massive difference. Financial advisors convinced Americans that retirement means accumulating enough money to live exactly the same expensive lifestyle without working. That's like training for a marathon by learning to run while carrying a refrigerator. Yeah, you could do it that way. Or you could put down the refrigerator and just run. Both get you to the finish line, but one is insane and the other is obvious. You have two paths. Maximize current comfort, work forever to maintain it, or maximize future freedom, work becomes optional soon. Most people say they choose freedom, but their spending says they choose comfort. Your expenses reveal your actual priorities, not your words. Calculate your actual freedom number right now. Track every expense for 60 days to know actual spending, not estimated spending. Separate expenses into 3 categories. Essentials like housing and food. Job-related items like commuting, work clothes, and convenience food because you're exhausted. Lifestyle inflation, like everything beyond essential comfort, exists to signal success. Add up essential only. This is your real cost of living without work, forcing expensive choices. Multiply essential by 25. This is your freedom number. Most people discover their freedom number is 40 to 60% lower than they thought because job-related expenses disappear when work becomes optional. Someone believed they needed $2.2 million because current spending was $88,000 yearly. Felt impossible. It would take 35 plus years. Broke down spending honestly. $42,000 was essential. $18,000 was job-related. $28,000 was lifestyle inflation. Without a job, essential spending was actually $42,000 yearly. Freedom number, 1.05 million. Suddenly achievable in 12 to 15 years instead of 35 plus. Retirement isn't a number. It's a choice to design life around what matters instead of what pays. Most people calculate the wrong number for the wrong question and work their entire lives toward the wrong goal. Principle 2. The $2 retirement myth is a systematic lie. Every financial advisor, every retirement calculator, every article says you need $2 to $5 million to retire safely. So you do the math. At the current savings rate, you'd reach that at age 70. Maybe. If everything goes perfectly, if no emergencies happen, if markets cooperate, the goal seems so impossible that you stop trying or accept you'll work until you die. They're not lying about math. They're lying about assumptions. The $2 million number assumes you'll spend the same in retirement as working years. False. You'll live in the same expensive location forever. False. You need to replace income rather than cover expenses. False. You'll have zero additional income ever. False. Every assumption is designed to make the number bigger. They're not selling advice. They're selling fear. The financial industry makes money from management fees and commissions. If you retire at 40 with $300,000, they make tiny fees for a short time. If you work until 70, accumulating $2 million, they make massive fees for decades. Your freedom is their lost revenue. Financial advisors telling you that you need $2 million minimum to retire is like a gym telling you that you need to work out for 5 hours daily to be healthy. Technically, you'd be very healthy, but you'd also have no life. It's completely unnecessary. And coincidentally, the gym makes way more money if you're there 5 hours daily instead of 30 minutes. Follow the money. Their advice benefits them, not you. They convinced Americans that retirement is expensive and far away, so you'd work longer and save more, generating more fees. They normalized the idea that retiring before 65 is only for the wealthy. They made freedom seem unrealistic, so you'd accept servitude as normal. It's brilliant from their perspective. They monetized your hopelessness. Retirement calculators ask current spending, then add inflation and healthcare costs, and assume the same location and build in safety margins until the number is so big you feel you'll never make it. Try this instead. Calculate minimum comfortable spending in a low-cost location, subtract job expenses, use real healthcare costs in the target location, and add modest income from hobbies. The number drops 60 to 70% immediately. When you realize $2 million is a lie designed to keep you working, you start asking different questions. Not how do I accumulate $2 million, but how do I need just $300,000? Different question, achievable answer, actual freedom within reach. Reject the financial industry's retirement number and calculate your own based on reality, not their profitable assumptions. Question every number they give you. Their business model requires your extended servitude. Your freedom is their financial loss. Of course, they'll tell you it takes decades and millions. Shorter timeline and smaller number means less profit for them. Principle 3. Your spending will drop 30 to 50% when you stop working. Financial calculators assume you'll spend in retirement what you spend while working. That assumption alone adds decades to your working years. It's completely false, but nobody questions it. You spend $50,000 while working, so you'll need $50,000 in retirement, right? Wrong. Most of your spending exists to compensate for or cope with working. You're not spending on life. You're spending to survive the job. Remove the job and the spending disappears automatically without any feeling of sacrifice. Expensive lunches because no time to pack. Coffee shops because exhausted. Takeout because you worked late. Shopping to cope with stress. Weekend trips because you need to escape. Alcohol to decompress. None of this is actually your lifestyle. It's job compensation spending. You live in an expensive city because that's where the job is. Rent costs $3,000 monthly. If the job disappeared, would you choose to stay and pay that? Probably not. You'd move somewhere you actually want to be that costs 1/3 as much. But the job locks you in place, and that location cost gets calculated as your retirement need. Your coworkers drive nice cars, so you drive a nice car. They eat at trendy restaurants, so you eat at trendy restaurants. You're spending to maintain status within the work context. Remove work context, remove status competition, and spending drops 30 to 40% without missing anything important. You spend $40 daily on lunch during work hours because you're too exhausted to meal prep. Then retirement calculators say you'll need $40 daily for lunch for the next 30 years. That's saying you'll need to keep paying for lunch to compensate for job misery even after the job misery ends. It's like calculating that you'll need an aspirin budget in retirement based on the headaches caused by the job you no longer have. Insane logic. Nobody questions. Real early retirees report spending drops of 40 to 60% immediately after stopping work, without any reduction in happiness or quality of life. Often report being happier while spending less because spending is now intentional rather than compensatory. You're not buying escape from misery. You're buying the actual life you designed. If you spend $60,000 yearly while working and assume the same in retirement, you need $1.5 million. If you honestly calculate, 50% will disappear when work disappears. Spending drops to $30,000 yearly. You need only $750,000. Same quality of life, half the money, half the working years. The difference between impossible and achievable is honest math. Do a retirement spending audit this week. List every expense monthly. Mark each expense. J for exists because of the job. L for exists because of the location the job requires. C for compensation or coping with work stress. E for essential life, regardless of work. Add up J plus L plus C. This is a job tax on your life. Add up E. This is the actual cost of living when work disappears. Most people discover that 40 to 60% of spending is job-related and would disappear with the job. Your spending reveals what you're compensating for, not what you need. Remove the source of pain. Remove compensatory spending. Principle 4. The 300K formula. How 4% creates freedom. 300,000 sounds impossible to retire on because you're calculating based on American city costs. But that's not what the math actually says. The math says something completely different. Invest 300,000 in a diversified portfolio, index funds, dividend stocks and bonds. Withdraw 4% annually equals 12,000 yearly equals 1,000 monthly. In America, that's poverty. In Portugal, Thailand, and Colombia, that's a comfortable middle-class life with a savings cushion. Same money, different location, completely different outcome. Don't increase income, decrease expenses while maintaining quality of life. That's the secret. You're not suffering on $1,200 monthly. You're living well in a place where $1,200 goes far. The purchasing power is what matters, not the absolute number. Lisbon, Portugal. $1,200 to $1,400 monthly equals a comfortable, middle-class European lifestyle. Good healthcare, safe neighborhoods, a walkable city, outdoor cafes, rich culture, great food. Chiang Mai, Thailand. $900 to $1,000 monthly equals living well, full health coverage, modern amenities, tropical climate, and incredible food. Medellin, Colombia. $1,000 to $1,200 monthly equals a modern city, perfect weather, affordable healthcare, and mountain views. The same quality of life in the US would require $3,000 to $4,000 monthly. You'd need 3 times the capital. Americans think living on $1,000 a month means suffering. But suffering is working 40 years at a job you hate to maintain a lifestyle in an expensive city where you're stressed constantly. Living on $1,000 monthly in Lisbon while drinking coffee at an outdoor cafe, walking to the fresh market, having time for hobbies and friends. That's not suffering. That's what you were supposedly working toward, except you can have it now with $300,000 instead of later with $2 million. $300,000 generating $12,000 yearly isn't a poverty budget. It's a location-dependent middle-class life. Poverty is having no choice. This is having complete choice about where and how you live. You're not trapped by job, not trapped by location, not trapped by the need to maintain an expensive lifestyle. That's freedom, not deprivation. Most early retirees don't just live on 4%. They supplement with a small income from hobbies, online work, teaching, and consulting. An extra $500 to $1,000 monthly from enjoyable work they choose equals a total income of $1,800 to $2,400 monthly. A very comfortable life almost anywhere. The 4% is the freedom foundation. Additional income is a comfort buffer. Test if 1,000 to 1,200 monthly actually works for you. Choose 3 cities: Lisbon, Chiang Mai, and Medellin. Join expat groups for each city and ask real residents about monthly costs. Plan a 4-week test trip. Rent an apartment monthly, shop at local markets, not tourist restaurants. Live like a resident, not a tourist. Track every expense daily. Most people discover that 1,000 to 1,200 months provides a better quality of life than 3,000 to 4,000 in the US city they currently reside in. Money is relative to location. 1,000 monthly is poverty in San Francisco and comfort in Lisbon. Choose your location based on where your money goes furthest while maintaining quality of life, not where the job happens to be. Principle 5. The Accumulation Roadmap. 300 K in 10 to 15 years. 300,000 sounds impossible when you're living paycheck to paycheck. But that's because you're trying to save it while maintaining an expensive lifestyle in an expensive location for an expensive job. Change the variables and the timeline collapses from impossible to achievable. You don't need to be rich. You need to be consistent and disciplined. Saving 1,000 monthly for 20 years at 8% return equals 460,000. Saving 2,000 monthly for 10 years at an 8% return equals 360,000. You can literally retire in 10 years on a middle-class income if you're serious about freedom over lifestyle. Person A earns 60,000, spends 55,000, and saves 5,000 yearly. At this rate, it takes 45 years to reach 300,000. Dies before retiring. Person B earns 60,000, spends 35,000, and saves 25,000 yearly. At this rate, reach 300,000 in 9 years. Retires at 35 if started at 26. Same income. Completely different life. The difference isn't money earned, it's lifestyle choices and priorities. Most people try to save for retirement while maintaining lifestyle inflation, expensive location, job-related spending, and status competition. Trying to save 2,000 monthly while spending 3,000 on job compensation is impossible. You can't save for freedom while spending to prove you don't need freedom. Live simply for 10 years to have freedom for 40 years. That's the trade. 10 years of intentional frugality and lifestyle below your means in exchange for 4 decades of complete freedom. Or spend everything forever and work until you die. Most people choose option 2 without realizing they chose it. People say, I can't save aggressively, I need to enjoy life now. But their enjoying life now is buying lunch they don't taste, clothes they don't wear, and cars that stress them with payments. That's not enjoying life. That's bleeding money on autopilot while calling it living. Meanwhile, a person saving aggressively for 10 years and then retiring at 35 actually enjoys 40 years of life. Math says the second person enjoyed life 4 times more, but culture calls the first person living and the second person depriving themselves. Backwards. Early years matter most. Someone saving aggressively from age 25 to 35, then stopping completely, ends up wealthier at 65 than someone saving moderately from age 35 to 65. Time in market plus high savings rate beats long time with low savings rate. One person earns 100,000, saving 10% equals 10,000 yearly, equals 30 years to 300,000. Other earns 50,000, saving 40% equals 20,000 yearly, equals 13 years to 300,000. A lower earner retires 17 years earlier because savings rate matters infinitely more than income level. You don't need to earn more. You need to save more of what you earn. Create your personal freedom timeline right now. Current age, current savings, monthly savings goal, expected annual return is 7 to 8%. Use the compound interest calculator to see the years until 300,000. If the timeline is over 15 years, something needs to change. Either increase income through a side hustle or a new job, or decrease expenses through cheaper housing, or eliminate car payments, or both. Recalculate until the timeline is 10 to 15 years or less. You can live like no one else for 10 years, so you can live like no one else for 40 plus years. Or you can live like everyone else forever and work like everyone else forever. Choose your hard, short-term discipline or lifetime servitude. Principle 6. Geographic arbitrage, where $1,000 month actually works. You think $1,200 monthly means suffering because you're imagining it in the American context, where that's below the poverty line. But you're locked into American price thinking. $1,200 monthly in the right location isn't poverty. It's a comfortable middle-class life with better quality than $3,000 a month in an expensive US city. Earn in strong currency, spend in a weak currency location, maintain or improve quality of life. That's geographic arbitrage. Your dollars stretch 3 to 4 times farther in dozens of beautiful countries with good infrastructure, healthcare, safety, and culture. You're not sacrificing quality, you're optimizing purchasing power. Portugal, Lisbon. $1,200 to $1,400 monthly total budget gets you a dollar studio in a decent neighborhood. 300 to 400 people are eating well. 100 utilities and phone. 200 entertainment and transportation. Quality of life, walkable European city, outdoor cafe culture, excellent public transportation, safe neighborhoods, rich cultural life, and good healthcare. Better quality of life than 3,000 months in most US cities. Thailand, Chiang Mai, $900 to $1,000 monthly gets you a dollar modern apartment with a pool. 200 food, incredible cuisine. 80 utilities and transportation, 150 entertainment and healthcare. Modern infrastructure, tropical climate, low crime, excellent healthcare, huge expat community. Colombia, Medellin, $1,000 to $1,200 monthly gets you a dollar apartment in a nice neighborhood. 300 food and dining out. 100 utilities. 200 entertainment. City of eternal spring with perfect weather year-round. Modern city, improving safety and affordable healthcare. Americans think Portugal is a vacation destination for rich people. Portuguese locals live there for 1,200 months and consider themselves middle class. Some Americans spend 3 months in Oklahoma City and consider themselves struggling. The location determines whether 1,200 is poverty or comfort. Choose your location based on where money works for you, not where the job happens to be. The biggest concern for Americans is healthcare. Reality. Healthcare in Portugal, Thailand, and Costa Rica is often of better quality and dramatically cheaper than US. Thailand is a medical tourism destination. People fly there specifically for healthcare. Many countries offer private health insurance for 100 to 300 months that would cost $800 to $1,500 monthly in the US. Healthcare is often a reason to leave the US, not a reason to stay. Most important money you'll ever spend. 4-week test trip, living like a resident in the target city. Rent an apartment monthly. Shop at local markets. Use public transportation. Track every expense. By the end, you'll know the exact cost of living there and whether it works for you. A dollar test trip can save you 20 years of unnecessary work. Once you understand geographic arbitrage, retirement math transforms. Instead of needing $1.5 million to maintain a US lifestyle, becomes needs $300,000 to live a better international lifestyle. The game becomes winnable instead of impossible. Choose a retirement location based on where your money creates the best quality of life, not where your job happens to be. Principle 7. Addressing the fear. Healthcare, inflation, loneliness. 300,000 and geographic arbitrage sounds good in theory, but fear keeps people trapped. What about healthcare emergencies? What about inflation eating my savings? What about being lonely, far from family? These fears feel valid, but they're often more imagined than real, and they're costing you decades of freedom. Most people believe American healthcare is the best in the world, and leaving the US means risking health. Reality is opposite. US healthcare is the most expensive in the developed world and often lower quality than many countries Americans never consider. Portugal, Spain, Thailand, and Costa Rica all rank high in healthcare quality at a fraction of the US cost. Medical tourism exists because people fly to these countries specifically for better, cheaper healthcare. Private insurance in these countries, 100 to 300 monthly versus 600 to 1500 monthly in the US. Many procedures cost 70 to 90% less US than with the same or better outcomes. The fear is backwards. Staying in the US for healthcare keeps you working longer to afford worse, more expensive care. Someone paying $700 monthly for insurance in the US plus deductibles equals $9,000 to $12,000 yearly healthcare spending minimum. Same person in Portugal. 150 monthly private insurance equals $1,800 yearly. Better access, no deductibles, excellent care. Savings, $7,000 to $10,000 yearly on healthcare alone. Over 20 years, that's $140,000 to $200,000 saved just on healthcare by leaving the US. What if inflation destroys my 4% withdrawals? A diversified portfolio historically beats inflation by 3 to 4% annually. If needed, a small side income from hobbies adds a buffer. Lifestyle in a low-cost country is flexible. If prices rise by 15%, you adjust spending by 15% without a major impact. Most early retirees don't live purely on 4%. They add $500 to $1,000 monthly from enjoyable work they choose. Teaching English online, consulting, writing, small online business. This is still working. It's doing enjoyable things that happen to generate income. Won't I be lonely, far from family and friends? Honest question, requiring honest answer. How often do you actually see family and friends now? Once monthly? Once quarterly? Most people see their family a few times yearly and friends occasionally. Distance doesn't change that much. Plus, video calls, annual visits back, and building a new community in a new location. Many report a richer social life overseas than an isolated US existence. People say I could never leave. I'd miss my family too much, while seeing that family twice a year because they're exhausted from work. They're sacrificing 15 years of freedom to be geographically close to people they barely see. Meanwhile, an early retiree in Portugal sees family the same twice yearly, but actually enjoys the visits because not exhausted. Physical proximity, while too exhausted to connect, isn't closeness. It's a proximity theater. Will you miss some things about the US? Yes. Will you gain things that matter more? Also yes. Trade familiar comfort and proximity to people you rarely see versus freedom, better quality of life, less stress, more time, financial security, and a new community. Most people who make the move say the only regret is not doing it sooner. Most people who don't make the move say their biggest regret is not having the courage to try. Test your fears with reality. Most will dissolve when confronted with facts instead of assumptions. Your fears are likely expensive illusions, keeping you trapped in a life you don't want. Principle 8. Freedom means work becomes optional, not impossible. People picture retirement as sitting on a beach, bored until death. That sounds terrible because it is terrible. But that's not what early retirement actually is. That's a caricature designed to keep you working. Real retirement is work becoming optional rather than mandatory. Huge difference. Wake up when your body wants to wake up, not when the alarm demands. Morning coffee while reading, writing, or thinking. No email checking, no rushing, no stress. Mid-morning, maybe work on a passion project that generates some income. Maybe learn a new skill, maybe exercise, maybe meet a friend. Afternoon, explore the city, cook a good meal, and pursue a hobby seriously. Evening, social time, cultural activities, relaxation. No commute, no meetings, no mandatory anything. Structure comes from choice, not obligation. Most early retirees report being more productive after retiring than when working full-time. Why? Because productivity for meaningless corporate goals is soul-crushing. Productivity for personal goals you care about is energizing. You're not less productive. You're productive for yourself instead of your employer. Many start businesses, write books, create art, teach, and build things. But it's optional productivity, not mandatory servitude. 4% rule, $12,000 yearly from $300,000 is baseline freedom. Most people add income from optional work they enjoy. An extra $500 to $1,000 monthly from work you choose equals a total of $1,500 to $2,200 monthly. Very comfortable anywhere. The baseline freedom lets you say no to anything. The optional income lets you say yes to everything. Corporate culture convinced you that you need a job to have purpose, structure, and meaning. That's propaganda to keep you working. Humans have an infinite capacity for creating meaning, pursuing interests, building relationships, and contributing to community. You won't be bored unless you're boring. If your only identity is your job, yes, retirement will be a crisis. If you have interests, curiosity, relationships, you'll have a more fulfilling life than you ever had while working. People say I'd be bored in retirement while scrolling phone 3 hours nightly because too exhausted from work to do anything interesting. They're already bored. They're just bored while also working 40+ hours weekly. At least be bored while free. Better yet, realize that I'd be bored actually means I've let work consume my identity so completely that I don't remember what I care about besides work. That's not a reason to keep working. That's an alarm bell that you need to retire and rediscover yourself. If you can't imagine how you'd fill days without work, that's not a reason to keep working. That's evidence that work destroyed your ability to imagine a fulfilling life. Retirement would force you to rebuild that ability, which is painful but necessary. The alternative is working until you're too old to rebuild, then facing that pain anyway. Redefine retirement as work becomes optional, not work becomes impossible. Freedom to choose what you do based on meaning, not money. Work isn't the problem. Mandatory work for someone else's goals is the problem. Freedom isn't about doing nothing, it's about doing what you choose. That distinction is everything. So here's how 300,000 is enough to never work again. Redefine retirement as work becoming optional, not stopping completely. Reject the $2 million lie designed to keep you working longer. Your spending drops 30 to 50% when work disappears. 300,000 at 4% generates 12,000 yearly. Poverty in the US, comfort in dozens of countries. Accumulate it in 10 to 15 years through aggressive savings. Geographic arbitrage stretches your dollars 3 to 4 times farther. Your fears about healthcare, inflation, and loneliness are illusions that dissolve when tested. Freedom means work becomes optional. You'll be more productive than ever. You don't need 2 million to retire. You need 300,000 and the courage to think differently. Which principle changed your thinking the most? Comment on the numbers 1 through 8 below. Subscribe for the truth about achieving freedom years earlier than the system wants you to believe. Remember, you can work until 70, accumulating money you'll be too old to enjoy, or retire at 40 and actually live. Get 300,000. Get free. Start today.